They sent me to kill her. But the alien Princese Huntress woman just seen into my eyes and smiled at Marcus. Kane stood in the empty briefing room, staring at the holographic display that showed his target. The blue light from the projector cast strange shadows on his face as he studied the image of Princess Kayla of the Zephyrian Empire. She was beautiful in an alien way, with silver skin that seemed to glow and eyes like deep purple stars. But Marcus knew better than to be fooled by her appearance. This woman was the most dangerous military commander in the galaxy. She has never lost a battle, Colonel Harris said from behind him. The older man walked around the table, his boots clicking on the metal floor. Not once in 15 years of warfare. Our best generals cannot understand how she does it, Marcus nodded slowly. He had read all the reports. 23 human colonies destroyed. Millions of people dead or captured. And Princess Kayla had led every single attack with perfect precision. The Terran Defense Coalition was running out of options. Intelligence suggests she can read minds. Harris continued, some kind of psychic power that lets her know what we will do before we do it. That is why every attack against her has failed. The hologram changed to show battle footage. Marcus watched as human ships moved in careful formations, only to be torn apart by Zephyrian forces that seemed to know exactly where they would be. It was like watching a chess game, where one player could see 20 moves ahead. But you are different, Kane, Harris said, stopping in front of him. Your cybernetic implants should block any mind reading. If anyone can get close to her, it is you. Marcus touched the side of his head where the neural implants were hidden beneath his skin. The tiny machines had been installed 5 years ago. After a mission went wrong, they helped him think faster, remember more, and stay calm under pressure. But their most important feature was the mental shielding that made his thoughts invisible to psychic scanners. The mission is simple, Harris said, bringing up a new image. Tomorrow begins the Harvest Festival on Zephyr Prime. It is their biggest celebration of the year. Princess Kayla will be there, participating in the ceremonies. Security will be lighter because it is a religious event. Marcus studied the festival plans. Thousands of aliens would gather in the capital city to celebrate their harvest season. There would be parades, competitions, and ritual hunts. It was the perfect cover for an assassination. You will pose as a refugee from the outer colonies, Harris explained. Many displaced humans have been allowed to settle on Zephyr Prime as part of their integration program. You will blend in with them. The colonel handed Marcus a datapad. With his new identity, according to the files, he was now David Chen, a farmer whose family had been killed in the war. He had come to Zephyr Prime seeking a new life under alien rule. It was a sad story, but believable. Many humans had given up hope after losing so much. Your window of opportunity will be during the ceremonial hunt, Harris said. Princess Kayla always participates. She will be away from her main security detail, focused on the ritual. That is when you strike. Marcus memorized every detail of the plan. He would use a molecular blade, a weapon so small it looked like a simple metal pen. One touch to the skin and it would disrupt the target's cellular structure. Death would be quick and silent. Remember, Kane, Harris said, his voice serious, this is not just about revenge. If we can remove their greatest military asset, it might force them to negotiate peace. Thousands of human lives depend on your success. Marcus understood the weight of his mission. He had killed before, but never someone like this. Princess Kayla was not just a soldier. She was a symbol of hope for her people and fear for his. Her death would change everything. 3 days later, Marcus stood in the crowd on Zephyr Prime. Wearing simple clothes and carrying forged documents, the alien city was beautiful but strange, with towers that spiraled into the sky like frozen tornadoes. The air smelled of unfamiliar flowers and spices. Around him, thousands of Zephyrians celebrated their festival with music and dancing. Marcus had been watching Princess Kayla for 2 days, learning her habits and routines. She moved through the crowds like flowing water, graceful and confident. Her silver skin caught the light of the twin suns, making her seem almost magical. But Marcus forced himself to see past her beauty. She was his target, nothing more. The ceremonial hunt would begin soon. Marcus checked his weapon one more time. hidden inside his jacket pocket. His heart rate stayed calm thanks to his implants, but he could feel the importance of this moment. Everything the human race had suffered led to this single chance. Princess Kayla emerged from the royal pavilion, dressed in ceremonial hunting gear that looked like it was made from starlight. The crowd cheered as she walked toward the hunting grounds. Marcus began moving through the people, following at a safe distance. He thought about all the human colonies that had been destroyed, all the families torn apart, all the children who would never see their parents again. The princess might seem beautiful and graceful, but she was responsible for terrible suffering. This was justice, not murder. As they reached the edge of the hunting grounds, Marcus felt his implants humming softly in his head. The mental shields were working perfectly. Princess Kayla had no idea that death was walking just a few steps behind her. The hunt was about to begin, and with it, the most important mission of Marcus Kane's life. Everything depended on the next few hours. The future of humanity itself hung in the balance, and only he could tip the scales toward justice. Marcus tightened his grip on the molecular blade and prepared to change history forever. The ceremonial hunting ground was a circular arena carved from black stone, surrounded by thousands of seats filled with excited Zephyrians. Marcus stood among the crowd, his eyes never leaving Princess Kayla as she prepared for the ritual hunt. The twin suns cast long shadows across the arena floor, and the air buzzed with anticipation. Princess Kayla stood in the center of the arena, holding a curved blade that gleamed like liquid silver. She wore hunting armor that seemed to flow like water over her tall, graceful form. Her purple eyes scanned the crowd, and for a moment, Marcus felt like she was looking directly at him, but that was impossible. His mental shields were perfect. "Today we honor the ancient ways," Princess Kayla called out, her voice carrying clearly across the arena. "We hunt not for food, but for wisdom, not for sport, but for understanding." The crowd cheered as 6 large creatures were released into the arena. They looked like giant cats with scales instead of fur, moving fast and silent across the stone floor. These were shadow beasts, Marcus had learned. Dangerous predators from the Zephyrian homeworld. Hunting them was considered the ultimate test of skill. Marcus began moving down through the crowd, getting closer to the arena floor, according to his intelligence. Princess Kayla would spend at least an hour in the hunt. During that time, her guards would focus on watching the beasts, not the crowd. It was his best chance. The princess moved like liquid starlight across the arena floor. She dodged the first shadow beast attack with impossible grace, her blade cutting through the air in perfect arcs. The crowd gasped as she spun away from claws that could have torn her apart, but she never seemed worried or afraid. It was like she knew where each attack would come from before it happened. Marcus reached the lower level of the arena. Stone barriers separated the crowd from the hunting ground, but there were gaps where officials and servants could pass through. He had studied the layout carefully. There was a spot near the eastern gate where the shadows were deepest. He could get close enough to use his molecular blade. The second shadow beast lunged at the princess from behind, but she was already moving, rolling under its leap and coming up with her blade ready. She fought like she could see the future, always one step ahead of her enemies. Marcus understood why his people had suffered so many defeats. How could anyone fight someone who seemed to know their every move? But his cybernetic implants would change that. Princess Kayla might be able to read minds, but she could not read his. He would be invisible to her psychic senses until it was too late. Marcus slipped through the gap in the barrier during a moment when all eyes were on the princess. She had just taken down the third shadow beast with a move so beautiful it looked like dancing. The crowd roared their approval, and guards turned to watch her victory celebration. Moving carefully through the shadows, Marcus reached his planned position. He was now only 30 feet from Princess Kayla, hidden behind a stone pillar. The molecular blade felt warm in his hand as he activated it. One touch would end the war. One moment would save countless human lives. The princess dispatched the fourth shadow beast with quick, efficient strikes. Only 2 creatures remained, and they were circling her cautiously now, as if they sensed they were outmatched. She stood in the center of the arena, completely calm, her silver skin glowing in the sunlight. Marcus began moving closer. The remaining shadow beasts were keeping her attention. Her guards were focused on the hunt. Everything was perfect. He raised the molecular blade, preparing to strike. Then something impossible happened. Princess Kayla turned away from the shadow beast and looked directly at him. Not toward him, not in his general direction, directly at him, as if she had known exactly where he was hiding all along. Her purple eyes met his across the arena, and Marcus felt his world shift. There was no surprise in her gaze, no fear, no alarm. Instead, her expression was calm, almost curious. The shadow beast attacked while she was looking away, but without even turning her head, she stepped aside from their claws. It was like she could sense them without seeing them, like she could feel the entire arena around her. Marcus froze. His training told him to complete the mission, but something in her eyes held him still. She studied his face for a long moment, tilting her head slightly. Then, slowly, a smile spread across her features. Not a cruel smile or a mocking one. It was warm, almost sad, like she understood something he did not. The princess raised her hand, and the remaining shadow beasts stopped their attack. They sat down like well-trained pets, waiting for her command. The crowd murmured in confusion. This was not how the ceremony usually went. "Guards," Princess Kayla called out, her voice carrying clearly across the arena. "Step back, Your Highness?" One of the guards questioned. "Step back," she repeated, never taking her eyes off Marcus. "All of you." The guards exchanged worried looks, but obeyed their princess. They moved away from the arena floor, leaving her alone with the shadow beasts, and Marcus in his hiding spot. Princess Kayla began walking toward him. She moved with the same fluid grace she had shown while hunting, but there was no threat in her approach. The molecular blade trembled in Marcus's hand. He could still complete his mission. She was coming closer, making herself an easier target, but he could not move. Something about the way she looked at him had frozen him in place. It was like she could see inside his soul, past all his training and conditioning, down to the person he really was. She stopped just 10 feet away from his hiding place and spoke in perfect English, her accent soft and musical. "You are not like the others they have sent." Marcus felt his heart stop. She knew, somehow, despite his mental shields and perfect cover identity, she knew exactly who he was and why he had come. Princess Kayla smiled again, and this time there was something different in her expression. Hope, maybe, or relief. "I have been waiting for you," she said quietly. Marcus stared at Princess Kayla, his mind racing. The molecular blade felt heavy in his hand, but he could not bring himself to use it. Everything about this mission had gone wrong. She knew who he was. She knew why he had come. And somehow, she had been expecting him. How? Marcus whispered, his voice barely audible over the confused murmurs of the crowd above. Princess Kayla gestured toward a small door at the edge of the arena. "Come. We need to talk where others cannot hear us. This could be a trap," Marcus said. But even as he spoke the words, he knew they were not true. If she wanted him dead, her guards would have already acted. Instead, they remained at a distance, watching but not interfering. "If I wanted to harm you, would I have sent my guards away?" the princess asked gently. "Please. What I have to show you will change everything you believe about this war." Against every instinct he had, Marcus followed her toward the door. The shadow beast watched them pass with intelligent eyes, then padded after them like loyal pets. The crowd was becoming restless, wondering why the ceremony had stopped. But Princess Kayla seemed unconcerned. The door led to a small chamber beneath the arena, lit by soft blue crystals embedded in the walls. It was clearly a private space, decorated with books and star charts. Princess Kayla moved to the center of the room and turned to face him. "My name is Kayla Threndai," she said formally, "and I am not what your people think I am." Marcus kept his distance, the molecular blade still ready. "You are a military commander who has destroyed 23 human colonies." "Yes," she said sadly. "I am, but not by choice and not for the reasons you believe." She raised her hand, and Marcus tensed, expecting some kind of attack. Instead, the air around her hand began to shimmer with strange light. Thin threads of energy became visible, stretching out in all directions like a spider's web made of starlight. "This is what I see," Princess Kayla said softly. "The probability threads that connect all living things, every choice, every action. Every possible future spreads out like branches on a vast tree." Marcus stared at the glowing threads. They pulsed and shifted, showing different patterns and colors. Some were bright and clear, others dim and twisted. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Most beings have simple patterns," she continued. "Their threads follow predictable paths. A Zephyrian warrior will choose honor over safety. A Centauri trader will choose profit over risk. Their futures are easy to read because their nature is fixed." The threads around her hand changed, showing new patterns. Marcus could see how they might reveal what someone would do in battle. If you knew how an enemy would react, you could always be one step ahead. "But humans," Princess Kayla said, and her voice filled with wonder. "Humans are different." She looked directly at Marcus, and the threads around her hand suddenly went wild. They twisted and writhed, creating patterns that hurt to look at. Some threads appeared and disappeared in the same instant. Others split into dozens of possibilities before merging back together. "Your people create chaos in the quantum fabric of reality," she explained. "Where other species have orderly futures, humans have beautiful madness. You can choose to be cowardly or brave, selfish or selfless, logical or completely insane, sometimes all in the same moment." Marcus felt his world shifting. "That is why you always win. You can see what we will do." "No," Princess Kayla said firmly. "That is why I am always afraid when I fight humans. I cannot see what you will do. Your probability threads are so chaotic that they blind me to everything around them." She gestured, and the threads showed him a new pattern. Marcus could see himself in the arena, but his future was a swirling storm of possibilities. In some threads, he killed her. In others, he saved her life. In still others, they fought side by side against some unseen enemy. "The only reason I have won battles against your people is because they fight in formations and follow strategies," Princess Kayla continued. "When thousands of humans work together, their individual chaos becomes predictable patterns. But a single human, acting alone," she shook her head, "you are invisible to my sight." Marcus lowered his weapon slightly. "Why are you telling me this? Why help your enemy?" Princess Kayla's expression became grave. "Because humans are not my enemy. We have been fighting the wrong war." She moved to a star chart on the wall and pointed to a dark region at the edge of the galaxy. 3 months ago, my seers detected something terrible awakening in the Outer Rim. We call it the Devourer. It is an ancient machine intelligence that consumes entire star systems, turning all matter into computational substrate. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. An AI? More than that. It is a perfect intelligence that can predict and counter any logical strategy. My Empire's fleets are already moving to intercept it, but every simulation shows the same result. We will lose. Our ordered, predictable tactics are exactly what it expects. She turned back to him, her purple eyes bright with desperate hope. "But the Devourer has never encountered humans. It does not know about your beautiful chaos. Your people's ability to act in ways that make no logical sense might be the only thing that can stop it." Marcus struggled to process what she was telling him. "You want us to help you." "I want to help you," Princess Kayla corrected. "The Devourer will not stop with the Zephyrian Empire. Once it has consumed us, it will turn toward human space. Our war has weakened both our civilizations. Separately, we will both fall. Together, we might have a chance." She stepped closer, and Marcus could see the truth in her eyes. This was not a trick or a trap. She was genuinely afraid, not for herself, but for both their peoples. "I have seen the probability threads of our species working together," she said quietly. "Human chaos guided by Zephyrian precision. Your unpredictability combined with our technology. It creates something the Devourer cannot understand or predict." Marcus felt the weight of the molecular blade in his hand. His mission had been to end the war by killing her. But maybe there was another way to end it. A way that might save both human and Zephyrian lives. How do I know you are telling the truth? He asked. Princess Kayla smiled sadly. Because I am going to show you something no outsider has ever seen. The true heart of my empire's power. And then you will understand why we need each other to survive. Princess Kayla led Marcus through a hidden passage behind the chamber. The walls were covered with ancient symbols that seemed to glow with their own light. As they walked deeper underground, Marcus could feel the weight of centuries pressing down on them. Where are you taking me? Marcus asked, still holding his weapon but no longer pointing it at her. To the Nexus Chamber. Princess Kayla replied, the heart of our empire's intelligence network. What you will see there has been hidden from outsiders for 1,000 years. They emerged into a vast circular room carved from living crystal. In the center stood a pillar of pure light that stretched from floor to ceiling. Round it, hundreds of Zephyrian technicians sat in meditation poses, their eyes closed, their minds connected to something Marcus could not understand. This is how we see the probability threads. Princess Kayla explained. Our greatest minds link together through the Nexus, sharing their visions of possible futures. It is how we have guided our empire for centuries. Marcus stared at the scene. It was beautiful and terrifying. The combined mental power in this room could probably predict the movements of entire star fleets. No wonder the Zephyrians had been winning the war. But 3 months ago, something changed. Princess Kayla continued. She approached one of the meditation circles and gestured for Marcus to follow. Show him, she said to the technician. The Zephyrian opened his eyes, which now glowed with the same light as the central pillar. When he spoke, his voice echoed with the power of hundreds of linked minds. We see darkness spreading from the outer rim, the technician said. A hunger that consumes everything. Stars going dark, worlds turning to dust, and behind it all, a vast intelligence that thinks in patterns we cannot comprehend. The air above them shimmered, and Marcus saw what looked like a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. He could see the Zephyrian Empire as a cluster of bright stars, and human space as another cluster nearby. But at the edge of the map, something dark was spreading, eating away at the light. The Devourer has already consumed 17 star systems, Princess Kayla said quietly. Our long-range scouts detected its advanced fleet 6 days ago. It will reach the outer Zephyrian colonies in 2 months. Marcus watched the dark stain spread across the galactic map. How big is it? Each construct ship is the size of a small moon, the technician replied. There are thousands of them, all controlled by a single artificial mind that has been learning and growing for millions of years. The image changed to show one of the Devourer's ships. It was a geometric nightmare of metal and energy, covered with weapons that could crack planets. Marcus had seen a lot of scary things in his military career, but this was beyond anything he could imagine. We have run every possible battle simulation, Princess Kayla said. Our fleets, your fleets, even both our civilizations working together using traditional tactics. The result is always the same: total defeat. Marcus studied the projections. The Devourer's strategy was perfect, cold, and logical. It could predict how any rational military force would respond, and had counters for every possible attack. Looking at it made him feel hopeless. Then he had an idea. What if we did not fight it like a traditional military force? Marcus asked. What if we used completely crazy tactics that make no sense? Princess Kayla's eyes brightened. That is exactly what I was hoping you would say. She gestured, and the technician showed them new probability threads. These ones were different, chaotic, and unpredictable, but somehow beautiful. Marcus could see human and Zephyrian ships working together in ways that defied all military logic. Your people's gift for chaos, combined with our ability to see probability patterns. Princess Kayla said, we could create strategies that even the Devourer cannot predict. Marcus felt excitement building in his chest. For the first time since this mission began, he could see a path to victory. Not just for humans or Zephyrians, but for all life in the galaxy. There's just one problem, he said. Our governments are still at war. They will never agree to work together. Princess Kayla smiled, and Marcus saw something mischievous in her expression. Then we will have to convince them. But first, we need to make them think you completed your mission. Marcus stared at her. You want me to fake killing you? Exactly. You return to your superiors and report that Princess Kayla is dead. I use my people's shape-changing technology to appear as someone else. Our governments will think the war is winding down while we secretly prepare for the real threat. It was a dangerous plan. If either side discovered the deception, Marcus and Princess Kayla would both be executed as traitors. But looking at the galactic map with its spreading darkness, Marcus knew they had no choice. How do we communicate without being detected? Marcus asked. Princess Kayla reached into her robes and pulled out a small crystal pendant. This will let you contact me directly. It uses quantum entanglement, so no one can intercept or trace the signal. Marcus took the pendant, feeling its strange warmth against his palm. What about the battle plans? We start small, Princess Kayla said. I will arrange for some of my ships to be in the right place at the right time. You provide intelligence about human patrol schedules. We make it look like random encounters, but we will really be testing our combined tactics. The technician showed them more probability threads, these ones showing small skirmishes between human and Zephyrian forces. But in these visions, the battles ended quickly and with minimal casualties. Both sides would think they were winning small victories, while actually preparing for something much larger. When the Devourer arrives, Princess Kayla continued, both our fleets will already know how to fight together. We can reveal the truth then and unite against the real enemy. Marcus nodded slowly. It was crazy, dangerous, and probably impossible. In other words, it was exactly the kind of chaotic human plan that might actually work. One more thing, Princess Kayla said. She pulled out a ceremonial blade and handed it to him. You will need proof that I am dead. The blade was covered with a special compound that would simulate Zephyrian blood. When Marcus returned to his superiors, he would have the evidence they needed to believe his story. Are you ready to save the galaxy? Princess Kayla asked with a smile. Marcus looked at the pendant in his hand, then at the galactic map showing the approaching darkness, 2 months to prepare for the greatest battle in galactic history. Two civilizations that had to learn to trust each other or face extinction. Let's do something impossible, Marcus said, and he meant it. 2 months had passed since Marcus Kane had returned to Earth with news of Princess Kayla's death. During that time, both human and Zephyrian forces had been secretly preparing for the real war. Small skirmishes between their fleets had actually been training exercises, teaching both sides how to fight together without their governments knowing. Now, as Marcus stood on the bridge of the human flagship Defiance, he watched the long-range sensors with growing dread. The Devourer's fleet was approaching the border between human and Zephyrian space. Thousands of massive construct ships moved in perfect formation, each one the size of a small moon. Admiral, the communications officer called out, "We are receiving a transmission from the Zephyrian fleet." Admiral Chen, who had been Marcus's commanding officer during the deception, looked confused. The Zephyrians, they should be retreating by now. Why are they here? Marcus stepped forward. Sir, there is something you need to know. The main screen flickered, and Princess Kayla's face appeared. She was alive, healthy, and wearing the ceremonial armor of a Zephyrian war leader. The bridge crew gasped in shock. Greetings, Admiral Chen, Princess Kayla said formally. I believe your operative has some explaining to do. Marcus felt every eye on the bridge turned toward him. Admiral Chen's face was red with anger. Kane, what is the meaning of this? The meaning, Admiral, is survival, Marcus replied calmly. Princess Kayla and I have spent the last 2 months preparing both our fleets for the real enemy. On the screen, Princess Kayla gestured towards something off camera. Observe. The display changed to show the approaching Devourer fleet. Even Admiral Chen fell silent as he saw the massive scale of the threat. Thousands of construct ships moved like a dark tide across space, leaving nothing but emptiness behind them. This is the Devourer, Princess Kayla explained. An ancient artificial intelligence that has been consuming star systems for millions of years. Our war was a distraction from the real threat. To all organic life, Admiral Chen stared at the screen. How do we fight something like that? Marcus smiled. Together, sir, using tactics that no logical mind could predict. Over the next hour, Marcus and Princess Kayla explained their plan to both fleets. It was insane, chaotic, and completely against everything both militaries had been taught. Human ships would pilot Zephyrian vessels using their quantum predictive targeting systems. Zephyrian strategists would coordinate human crews in seemingly random attack patterns. Both fleets would fight as a single force, but one that followed no logical battle doctrine. This is madness, Admiral Chen muttered. But Marcus could see the hope in his eyes. Yes, sir, Marcus agreed. That is exactly the point. The battle began 3 hours later. The Devourer's fleet approached the Allied forces with perfect confidence. Its tactical computers had analyzed both human and Zephyrian fighting styles and prepared counters for every possible strategy. What it encountered instead was something unprecedented. Human pilots and Zephyrian ships darted through space in patterns that made no tactical sense, but somehow worked perfectly. Zephyrian commanders guided human crews through attack runs that defied all logic but achieved impossible results. The combined fleet moved like a living thing, chaotic and unpredictable but beautiful in its madness. The Devourer's construct ships tried to respond, but their perfect artificial intelligence could not predict the Allied fleet's next moves. For the first time in millions of years, the Devourer was facing an enemy it could not understand. All ships, begin the insertion maneuver, Princess Kayla commanded from her flagship. This was the most dangerous part of their plan, while the main fleet kept the Devourer's ships busy. A small strike force would attempt to reach the central construct ship. Marcus led this team, using a captured Zephyrian stealth ship modified with human technology. The stealth ship slipped through the Devourer's defenses like a ghost. Marcus and his team of volunteers, both human and Zephyrian, prepared for what might be a one-way mission. Their goal was to reach the Devourer's central intelligence and find a way to shut it down. The central construct ship was a nightmare of metal and energy, larger than any space station Marcus had ever seen. As their ship docked with its hull, Marcus could feel the alien intelligence probing at his mind. But his cybernetic implants held firm, keeping his thoughts hidden from the artificial consciousness. The boarding team fought their way through corridors filled with mechanical defenders. Human intuition guided them past traps that should have been impossible to detect. Zephyrian technology helped them cut through barriers that would have stopped any normal force. Working together, they became something greater than either species could achieve alone. Finally, Marcus reached the central chamber where the Devourer's consciousness resided. It was a sphere of pure energy surrounded by computational matrices that hurt to look at. As he approached, the sphere pulsed with malevolent light. Why do you resist? The Devourer spoke directly into Marcus's mind. I bring order to chaos. I make the universe efficient. Because chaos is beautiful, Marcus replied, activating the quantum virus that Princess Kayla's technicians had created. And sometimes, being efficient is not the point. The virus spread through the Devourer's systems like wildfire. It was based on human thought patterns, random, illogical, and completely unpredictable. The artificial intelligence tried to understand it, to find patterns it could counter. But human chaos could not be solved like a mathematical equation. The Devourer's consciousness flickered and wavered. This is impossible. Your species should not exist. You defy all logical evolution. That is what makes us special. Marcus said with a smile. The central sphere cracked, then shattered. Throughout the Devourer's fleet, construct ships began shutting down as their controlling intelligence failed. The ancient threat that had consumed countless civilizations was finally defeated by something it could never understand, the beautiful madness of the human spirit. Marcus and his team barely escaped as the central construct ship tore itself apart. They emerged to find the combined human-Zephyrian fleet victorious, celebrating their impossible victory. 6 months later, Marcus stood on the observation deck of New Unity Station, the first joint human-Zephyrian settlement. Through the windows, he could see ships from both species working together, exploring the galaxy as partners instead of enemies. Princess Kayla joined him at the window, no longer hiding her identity. The probability thread showed me possible futures for our alliance, she said softly. Most of them are bright, Marcus nodded, watching a human child and a young Zephyrian playing together. In the station's garden, sometimes the best futures are the ones nobody can predict. They had saved the galaxy by doing something impossible, turning humanity's greatest weakness into its greatest strength. In a universe that valued order and logic, chaos and unpredictability had become the keys to survival. And for the first time in years, the future looked beautiful.